friends, my name is Heather. Welcome to my channel. So in today's video, we're going to be doing something I'm super excited about. I'm going to show you with these products right here, how we can flip this coffee table into an ottoman. Let's go. So we'll need to start off painting our base. So I'm grabbing some Waverly Ivory chalk paint, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my Wise Owl paintbrush. It's a little narrower, which would be good for those legs. Of course, some water. And then we're going to go ahead and get a worn down grit sandpaper. This will be good for our scuff sand as well as the distressing. So because I'm distressing this piece, I'm not going to be priming it. I'm just going to go around and give it a light scuff sand, and then we're going to be on to the painting part. Because Waverly chalk paint is on the thicker side, what I personally like to do is put it in a separate container and mix it with a tiny bit of water. That way I don't have to use any water as I go along, which makes the process easy, and the texture of the paint is smooth, and it itself is easy to work with. So these are just really good benefits for me to highlight for you guys. So I thought I'd include that in there. So what we're going to be doing, I'm not going to focus too much on presentation as far as the underside, because we're going to be flipping this over and kind of stapling around those edges. But I will still be taking note of any thick buildup around the legs and any drips. So as I'm painting, I'm not worried about keeping my brush strokes super even. With distressing, uneven brush strokes can really complement that look. Here's what the first coat looks like. I gave it about a half-hour dry time, and now we're on to coat number 2. Hey friends, don't forget, be sure to subscribe, because if you like furniture makeovers with learning those tips and tricks along the way, this channel is just for you. So I'll just distress on some high points here. When I am distressing, I do like to think about how it's going to get its natural distress marks over time, where people would kind of like nick it, or, you know, where the vacuum would hit it or something like that. But, you know, just hitting those high points and those edges a little bit, and then we'll get on to the cushion. I went ahead and ordered some foam off of Amazon. It's linked below. So let's bust it out of the box and see what we got. So I'm going to lay it down, and it's perfect because this kind of comes with a protective sheet. I'm going to lay it down on the ground and then flip the coffee table over, and we'll measure it that way. We basically have about an inch on each side of the table. So I'm just going to eyeball it and go ahead and give it a cut. Worked out really well, and I have some spare foam for another project. Next, I'm going to use some tacky spray to glue the foam down onto the table. Now that our foam is nice and stuck on, we're going to apply some batting. And this is going to make it so it's not so square around the edges. It's going to give it a nice rounded look, just to make it not look like there's a piece of foam on top of a coffee table and that's it. You know, else it'll kind of give off that vibe. So we're wanting it to look like an ottoman. So this is how it's done. And again, I will have all the products listed below, but you can also reach out to me in the comments box. I can go over it more thoroughly for you. Let's get this baby on there. Ta-da! It's done. No, just kidding. I went shopping at my local Goodwill and Salvation Army, and I picked up a couple of fabric choices. And so, you can look for sheets, curtains, blankets, anything that would cover your space. I picked out a gray fabric and this one, so I think I'm gonna go with this one. The sweet girls over at Salvation Army sold me on this one, so but I had picked up the gray one at Goodwill, so just, options. Something that we want to be careful about is matching the pattern with the surface area. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. So with this print, I made sure everything was even in the center and that it matched up on the sides. So whichever pattern you work with, my advice would be to pay attention to the corners and how it lines up from the top to the bottom. I cut the fabric a little bit more than the batting, and then what I ended up doing is just taking a little extra batting and going around the corner just to make it a nice rounded look. This is just going to depend on what coffee table that you have. This one's a bit pokey. It has some edges that are more pronounced, so it works out better for that, but very easy to work with. So no matter what coffee table that you have, it should work out just fine. I'm using a corner as my starting point, and then I'll space 6 inches in between each staple, pulling and tucking as I go. Then I'll repeat the process with adding more staples in between everything to tighten it up. So this is going to ensure that the fabric will stay even and nothing's going to bunch up. There's just some loose fabric around the edges that needs to be trimmed up, but other than that, it's looking really good. So I'll be fine trimming this fabric, and then we'll move on to the next step where it's really going to come to life. Okay, so we have these bigger furniture tacks, and I'm going to draw out a pattern and tack them in. So it's going to make it look like a cushion. So I mean, even right now without the furniture tacks, this is looking great. So to really crank it up a notch to make it look like a full-on cushion, this is a really neat way to do that. Here is the pattern I came up with. So I just moved them around until I landed on something that I was happy with. So I had to push it down really firm until I felt the wood, and then I quickly took the tack hammer and bopped it in. So it kind of takes some patience, but it's totally worth it. It didn't take that long to turn a coffee table into a snazzy new ottoman. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, or if you just like to say hey. I'd love hearing from you guys. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you have been here more than once or twice, why not click the subscribe button on your way out and become part of the community? Go ahead and continue the fun. I have got a bar stool makeover right here. If you enjoyed this ottoman makeover, you're really going to enjoy this video. I also have a video with some baskets that I got from Goodwill, and I upcycle those kind of like an anthropology inspiration. So click on one of those too, and I'll see you there. Bye, friends.